Welcome back, everyone. For this session, we have a great panel titled Challenges with Capturing, Analysing and Processing Data and How to Overcome Them. This session is moderated by Bashar Albani, Senior Project Manager from UNEC. I'd like to remind our audience that they can send their questions using the chat feature, and if there is time, our speakers will do their best to answer them. Now, can I please ask all of my speakers to turn on the webcams and microphones, and Bashar, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Ima. It's my pleasure to be part of this panel discussion. We'd like to start with the survey conducted by McKinsey. According to the survey, the top 500 companies on the world are investing billions of dollars in data analysis and data collection. So generally speaking, for any business, and construction is no exception, there are always two main goals. You need to be productive and you need to be profitable. And there are always two main goals. You need to be resilient and enduring. To achieve these goals and targets, you need to have an adaptable organizational culture, and effective utilization of data can help you to be adaptable and eventually achieve these targets. There are a tremendous amount of data, and these data are worth a fortune if used properly. When we speak about data, there are always two things pop up. It's data collection and data analysis. Data collection running through the course of the project, from initiating, planning, execution, and all the way till completion. While data analysis is running all the time, it's running on the background, usually use the artificial intelligence or AIs to help analyzing these data. There are two main advantages of data analysis. The first one would be predicting the future behavior rather than guessing. The second one would be an advancing analytical-based solution to encounter any problem you are facing. Wise use of this data had helped a major innovation in the industry. Big data is the fruitful soil to plant the seed of the new technological revolution. The technological development is a big opportunity and risk as well. So if you are not able to catch up these innovations and to be creative, you'll be at risk, and it will be an opportunity for you as you can catch up and you can always keep learning and advancing yourself. So we'd like to start this panel discussion with a question to the panelists. I will start with Anil. So first, let us talk about data collection. Anil, what type of data do you collect over the course of the project, whether in the beginning, middle of the project, or the completion?
Thank you, Bashar. And to start off, I think you framed it accurately. I think technology is going to play a very big role in the next normal for construction and for other industries. And there is two aspects which are very important to construction. One is collection, and then how do you analyze it, and maybe collaboration sits somewhere in between that whole journey. Now, when you look at the construction industry, I would split it into three phases, right? So there is the planning phase, which is pre-construction. There is the execution phase, which is actual construction execution. And then there is the operate phase, which is more the maintenance. So data collection happens at all these phases. It happens through 2D tools or 3D tools for design to start with. Even before that, maybe for feasibility or generating some data and utilizing it. Typically, Excel is used quite heavily in that space, and there are some tools as well. Then you have the whole process towards bidding, where you have estimation, which utilizes data around prices, around items, around subcontractors. There are quantities involved in that, there are margins in that. So the whole aspect of bidding, which is pre-construction, the schedule also goes into that phase. And then you have the bid, which also is a data point in a sense, and you have the customer related information, which is also a view of data and a subset of data. Beyond that, you go to execution, where you see data from the execution phase. This involves procurement data, it involves data from the job site, getting all the actuals, whether it is time, whether it is material, whether it is cost, all of the flow of actual information which you want to capture and compare against estimated information. So budget versus actuals is a big portion of that. So that's the execution phase, and I would say the last phase being the operate phase, where you are doing a handover from construction to maintenance. It could be digital or semi-automated. And then you go into actually utilizing maintenance data, which is breakdowns, maintenance schedules, spares used for maintenance, all of that information. And then it's a feedback loop which should ideally go back into the design of your next project. So repeatability is very critical across these phases, and repeatability across projects also is very critical from what I see.
Excellent points. Kenny, do you have any thoughts you'd like to add on data collection?
Hi, Bashar. So about the data collection, I believe that before the project, like I'm also PMP trainer. So before the project, I'm in that stakeholder expectations, whatever stakeholders require, then we prepare the scope according to that one. And this is before the project. So it means that we check the data collection about the scope, it is correct or not. And it's normally happened before the planning. If you see the PMP, we call initiating, before pre-planning. Before the project charter, it means when we create the project, what is the expectation from stakeholders and what is the business case, why we need that project. During the project, yes, about the time, and also status report about your project, what is going on. And the end, we see that all issues logs change, and everything's close, the data about the change and issue logs and closing out documents. That I would like to add that one. Thank you very much.
Project from initiating all the way to completion. Kenny, if you're ready, would you like to add
yes, sorry, I was on mute. You can hear me now, I'm sure. Yeah, I think everyone's kind of saying the same thing. I think it's obviously about managing the information and data across all stages of the asset's life, right from the very beginning of the requirements from the client, the design information, the BIM data, and so on and so forth, through the commercial and project financial control, planning information, both project plans for timelines, quality plans, resource plans for materials and labour and subcontract and plant and so on, right through to construction execution, and then measuring progress, measuring actual costs, managing risks, managing variations, obviously health and safety, quality snags and so on, right through to the handover, where we need to obviously then measure how we perform. So I think that's the key area where we're looking at project performance. Ultimately, are we delivering on time, on budget, to margin? What's the quality been like? What's the safety instance, for example, in the project? And then ultimately information about lessons learned, so we can actually try and improve our performance. And then, as people said, all the way through to the handover and the maintenance plan, and then the ongoing operation of the asset, right through to, I guess, understanding what's the total cost of the asset through its entire life. So I think everyone's saying the kind of same thing. I guess the question is, how do we go about doing this, and what are the challenges? I mean, one observation I would say is, I think as an ERP provider, I would say my observation is the data is very fragmented, and there's too much use of Excel spreadsheets and documents, and I think we'll come on to talk about that, I'm sure, as we go through.
Yeah, if I can add something. Hi everyone, thanks for being with you. I'm excited to be part of this panel discussion and useful subject. If we go back to the question of type of data for planning and regional, urban and regional planning, we have to know two things. Firstly, we need to know the level of planning. It is national or regional, structural planning, or local, which is master sectoral planning. Second thing, we have to know the project is existing, or we need to develop to future, or it is the new projects from scratch. In general, that's the information we have to collect in the first stage, that socioeconomic information, for example, like number of population growth, population pyramid, the infrastructure data, existing water, power, sewage, telecommunication networks, and traffic data, trip generation, model split, and so on. Waste management, sustainability, environment pollution, and planning standard regulation of the study area, the housing and public facilities such as school, hospital, medical, and the economic activities such as industry, commerce, agriculture, or tourism. And the final information or data we have to collect about the culture and historical environment and the conservation policy to this historical building, for example. That's what. Thanks.
Excellent.
That's what I have. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. All bullet points.
Engineer Bashar, your voice is breaking.
I
Yeah.
think I cannot hear you, Bashar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's still breaking up.
Broken up.
Oh.
Clear or?
We lost you
No.
for the last 30 seconds, Bashar.
Okay, so, okay. Okay,
Yeah, it's
we'll,
okay
we'll,
now.
we'll go over again.
You're
We'll go
back
over
again. You're back.
Yeah, okay, perfect, perfect. So as we said, now when we speak about data collection, the next thing we would talk about is data analysis. And with the modern technology and the new innovation, there are always artificial
You're breaking up again,
Engineer.
Bashar.
Yeah.
You've lost them.
Yeah, I think maybe for the benefit of the audience, we can continue and we can speak a little bit about how is data typically collected across the construction value chain, right? And what do we see? Now, I'll give my perspective, and maybe we can take turns to get different perspectives. What I typically see, speaking, and again, like Kenny, I'm a technology provider, and we provide construction ERP and a single data platform. And when we speak to, sorry, Bashar, we sort of continued a little bit around a question around how data is collected across the construction value chain. I think Bashar is still not in a stable connection. So yeah, just continuing from where we were. So what I see is that smaller entities, when I say smaller entities, SMB organizations in construction, tend to use a lot of Excel, PDF. They typically have an accounting system which manages finance and procurement more of the back office. But there is a lot of unstructured data in those entities, and typically these are subcontractors from what I've seen. You go a little bit higher up the food chain, and then you would see that organizations have silo tools, or let's say point tools, point solutions across the construction value chain. So they would use BIM, and they would use Revit or any of the popular BIM tools. They would have an estimation tool. They would have scheduling applications like Primavera or Microsoft Projects. They would have maybe construction site activity monitoring tools, and they would potentially have an ERP in the back office. So you would have still automation, but let's say automation happening across departments and silos. And then when you go to let's say the real enterprise organizations in construction, let's say the largest contractors, largest developers in each country that we operate in the Middle East, you would see that these organizations have an enterprise ERP which they have tailored for the construction industry. So they would use, typically one of the top 3 ERPs in the world, and then either bring in some level of customization or bring in vertical solutions on top of the main platform to deliver, let's say, a platform approach. So this is the data collection methodology that we see from an application perspective. And obviously, irrespective of the size of the organization, there still is a lot of Excel and PDF and manual processes in construction as opposed to any other industry that we typically touch. For an example, we also service the retail sector, and if I take the retail value chain, I would say the journey of an item being bought to sold, and all the interactions with the customer, which is very important in the retail industry. is highly digitized. So when I draw a parallel between construction and retail, I can see that construction, even at its best, is partially digitized as opposed to some other industries. So that's my viewpoint. Maybe Bashar, you're back, so maybe I'll leave it to you to decide how we take it forward from here.
Technology is sometimes challenging, so apologies. Now, you sort of spoke about collection in more in deep, and which is excellent points. As I said, now once we go collection, then we go next thing analysis. And what I observed now during the last, we can say, 10 years, there is a big involvement of artificial intelligence in analysis, which make things easier and easier. Before I go there, I would like quickly to touch into artificial intelligence, because what I face on the workplace, there is a misunderstanding of what is artificial intelligence means, or what intelligence means, basically. So there's an understanding that intelligence is how much we score in IQ test. So it started from very little all the way up. But actually, it's not the case, because the human brain has many intelligence, and it's vary from people to people. So it's more like a symphony of different notes. So each one play in different instrument of cognition. So maybe somebody has some certain of intelligence that they don't have the other one. So human like maybe have more than 100 type of intelligence. There's interpersonal intelligence, there's emotional intelligence, spatial intelligence. So intelligence means different thing. And when we go for artificial intelligence, we get a machine and we add up some intelligence on it based on the intended need, and we make it smarter and smarter. And the trend now to make things smarter and smarter. Now, we just quick example, like calculator, for instance, it's smarter than us in math. A GPS is smarter than us in navigation. Google is smarter than us in memory, and so on. And the same thing for the car, the auto-driven car. Auto-driven car is smarter than us in driving, because the car is not distracted. The artificial intelligence will never get distracted because they are not occupied with all these things which you are thinking about. So when we speak about data analysis, there is a big introduction of now artificial intelligence in analyzing this data. You have it in everywhere, even when you browse the internet. So like when you go on Amazon or you go to Google search, based on your search history and data analysis, which is going on the background of this browser, they're analyzing your intent, what you're looking for, and then the ads start popping up. So data analysis has advanced the business in general very, very rapidly and very widely, and became a tool for improvement. So now this will take me to my next point, which is data analysis. So want to hear from you in your workplace or in your experience. How do you collect data? And we spoke about collection basically. So we're talking about analysis. So is there any means or method, special means and method used to analyze these data? I will start with Arif. Data analysis.
You mean Muhammad?
Muhammad.
My company name is right. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. No issue. See, normally we are a consultant company, and we have construction project. So whenever we collect the data, we analyze through the some software that we just check what is our basis and what is the status of our project. Like Anilesh has told that we are using Primavera and also Excel file. We check and analyze the data, that whatever the data we receive. Now, as per this data collections, we are ahead from our project or behind the project. Yes, you are right. Sometimes technological error is coming. It's like lesson learned, but we are now improving and we are bringing this all our data on the server basis. So, we analyze the data, whatever our basis, and we are using normally the software like Primavera software, and then other Excel files and these things. And the design, we have the structures, like there is also some software we using in structures also to analyze the data, what is the strength of the buildings, and then how we can what is the requirement of the steels and other things. So we just analyze in this way. So I'm just generally purely I'm talking about my field. So maybe
Yeah.
they have another opinion. Yeah, thank
Excellent
you,
point.
Bashar. Yeah.
Excellent point. Safa, do you like to add any point on this?
Yeah. For us, you know, that's the normal data collection, normal analysis of data collection. We use the SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis in the planning, which is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And we use this, digitize this information in the GIS. We after collect, for example, the satellite image acquisition for the area, we digitize all the layers of this area in terms of land use, height, the transportation network, the infrastructure network, all this digitized on the GIS. And so in this case, we have the layers of all these activities or land use or communication and networks. And we make the evaluation criteria for all these things compared to the planning standard. So that's why we can discover the weakness, threats, strength, opportunities in all areas. That's the way we work on the planning and using the primary source, which is like the satellite image and ground survey data collection, for example, observations and focus group and questionnaires, forms, all these things. And secondary source also, we can use the desktop research and lesson learned from our archive. Yeah.
Excellent. Just sharing experience as you guys did, we were executing one project a while ago in downtown Toronto. It was a subway underground, and with this subway was done underground, the downtown, plenty of services and plenty of old building and old foundation was existing underneath the ground, and nobody can see it. What we did an actual survey for the existing services, and we tried to obtain all the drawing from the consultant who was designing this like 40 or 30 years ago. And we create a sort of as-built. Then we run this information, all this data after collection, we run it in BIM. So we did a simulation of all the services under the ground. Then we start designing the underground subway. So this was a big project. It was a 3 crossing of subways in the same location on the downtown. It was the main station. So this such a project, it was very challenging, and we were not able to execute such a project without the utilization of these data and analyzing it, and with the artificial intelligence, which is the BIM in our case here. So we're utilizing this BIM, it makes make things easier. We run all the simulation, then we execute the project successfully. So really, the data and collection and data analysis is making a big achievement in construction industry in general, and any industry, in any business. Now we talk about we share our experience, and we'd like to talk about how these analysis drive us smarter and give us an efficient business solution or business decision while we are while executing our job. So I would ask Kenny, from your experience, how data analysis drive us smarter?
Okay. Yeah, I think there's obviously a lot of talk about different tools we can use to do analysis, obviously business intelligence tools, AI, machine learning, and so on. I think the challenge we see, and we've tried this in a number of clients, is in general, I think the quality of information, the quality of data is not great in the construction sector, and it kind of goes back to the fact that we have a generally a disjointed business system landscape with lots and lots of documents and Excel spreadsheets, and it's unless you've got good data and not just documents, you can't really analyze documents. You really need data to analyze it, and you need consistency of process. And I think that's one of the big challenges we see, because when I look at the construction sector, obviously it's a very project-centric industry. There's a tendency to have different processes and different ways of working and different data structures from one project to the next. And we tried this to do a project. We're doing an AI driven project forecasting model with one of our clients to see if we could actually generate intelligent financial forecasts, project cost control forecasts for the project. And what we found when we started to analyze the data, this is before we implemented IFS, I should say, the data was so inconsistent. You know, the same cost code, for example, on one project meant something different on another project. So I think the challenge with the construction sector, we mentioned retail earlier on, is it's not a repetitive business, and we don't really have good discipline and structure and consistency at the moment, which I think makes it very hard to have intelligent tools. So I think the first step for me along this journey is to get standardized processes and a standardized data model as much as is possible across the business, and then we'll collect good information, good data, reduce the number of Excel spreadsheets, and then you end up with a solution that gives you one version of the truth. And then we can start to get intelligent systems and AI tools and machine learning to really drive business improvements into the business. So, and I think one other point I would say is, you know, we talk about ERP in our world, but ERP in a lot of companies is a kind of finance system and nothing much else, and the whole construction execution is very disjointed and non-integrated. So I think we should be looking to try and have embedded, you know, analytics, I think, inside your ERP solution, which is wider than just, you know, finance and HR. So I think the message for me is we need good data before we can do clever analysis, and we need accurate data. And that's always been the challenge with any business system. It's rubbish in, rubbish out, and we need to get good discipline and structure.
Agreed. Obtaining good data always challenging. Absolutely
yep.
Right. Anil, how we can make efficient businesses decision based on data which we are collecting or we're analyzing?
Right. Yeah, Bashar, I agree with Kenny and and the other panelists as well. And since Kenny is also from a technology point of view, I would concur with what he said. I think that the challenge with construction is that the value chain or the processes in construction are fragmented, and there is low collaboration. So there are fragmentations actually in two ways. One is inside the organization. So if you're a contractor, does estimation work digitally with scheduling, does scheduling talk digitally to site execution, does site execution and all the other touch points work in a digital manner, in a seamless collaborative manner with procurement and finance. Typically, we see that this is not the case. We would see that these entities or departments work towards common objective, but in a departmental way. So that's, let's say, one challenge that we see. The other challenge is that there are multiple stakeholders in the construction process. So there's a PMC, there is a owner, there is a general contractor, there are subcontractors, and there are other players as well. There are procurement and suppliers as well. So again, there is fragmentation at that level. So building in standardization is let's say a foundational step before you can go into automation. And once you automate, you have the data structures, then you can start deriving data, which can be utilized in a repetitive manner. So you have a project, you have learnings from that, you have data structures from that, you have libraries of data built out of that. The next time you have a similar project, you can take all of that and leverage that to bid better and execute better. Today, I would say this is residing in Excel sheets. It's residing in the minds of experts in these companies. It's sometimes in documents as well. So there's a lot of document management happening in construction. So I would say that the key value that data brings is decision making. So decision making can happen only when there is visibility, there is high data integrity, and there is real-time availability of data. Because in construction, if you get information after a month, that the project has moved ahead and that data is really useless, right? So if we can get to that point where we as a construction industry or as a construction organization understand that these are the KPIs that I want to know at a project level or at an enterprise level, and build the data structures in a way that I can have this information almost on a real-time basis. When I say real-time, even if you have it within the same day, it's sort of okay. It should not be weeks and months before you get that kind of information, right? And if we have that, then the decisions are accurate. You identify risk, you proactively address risk, you resource manage better, You collaborate with your colleagues, your suppliers, your third parties a lot better. You remove a lot of waste that happens in the whole value chain. So I would say decision making is, let's say, the key value, but that covers a lot of ground when I just say decision making.
Excellent. Well said. Well said, your points. Now, see, what I noticed that in speaking about construction industry, we are a little bit lagging behind in terms of smartness and introducing artificial intelligence to do the business. We're still doing things in the old way, let's say. Like for instance, like a job title of data science, we don't have it in the industry yet. Maybe it's other industry, they already have it. They start processing this information heavily and they are using it. They are using it in the background of plenty of application. When you go to the hospital, for instance, it's in the background. It's helping the doctor to diagnose the X-ray. It's there on the legal office where they're reviewing the document instead of a human. So this can help us to do it better than a human, actually. And it's as even you take, for example, the airplane. So the airplane, they plug all the data on the AI, and the AI, he's the one who's flying the airplane. The human pilot maybe will flew the airplane for a couple of minutes. The other all will be by the artificial intelligence. What I noticed that in industry or in construction industry, we're still lagging behind. We need to work a lot on introducing, on utilizing these data, whether collection or analysis, and introducing the artificial intelligence. We need to work more on it to enhance our experience. Now, this will take me to my next question. What is the role of data in business in general? And let us focus on construction in particular to make us smarter and to make the sustainable cities. I will start with Safa.
Yes.
So, Safa, question for you: how the data help us to make our building smarter and make our cities more sustainable?
Yeah. And first, we have to define the smart cities. Define smart cities as a place where digital media are strategically integrated as infrastructure and software to collect, analyze, and share data to manage and inform decisions about urban environments and activities. If we know the urban dynamic and we consider the city in city planning in urban dynamics, that computer could help analyze feedback loops between the urban system and the model environment and behaviors. This could be input into computer and simulate and analyze specific variables that impact urban problems and development over time, and derive as Anil said, derive the future estimation of all these activities or behaviors of the city. So you can consider the city as any project. So you can deal with the city as any project. For smart cities, current smart cities development are meant to address problems quickly based on a huge amount of data gathering through sensors, antenna, and monitor urban activities. Technically, for example, sensors, cameras, and GPS installed on city streets report real-time information to the data centers, where employees and software maintaining the feeds can identify patterns and locate issues or incident to be mitigated. Maybe more extreme examples in the smart cities, which is called the smart from the start cities. We can start the new cities or districts built from scratch, and these cities incorporate privately owned technologies and software on public street, and privatize aspects of public service provision and administration. This smart cities are regarded as urban environment where ICT, as information and communication technology, are aggressively implemented to collect data to support, monitor, and improve urban infrastructure. as a transportation, waste management, energy consumption, and emergency response. This I can read the urban dynamics that for smart cities and how deal this information with this information coming from the real time and to estimate the behavior of the city in the future.
Excellent point. Urban infrastructure improvement. Very well said. Mohammed, do you have any thought about smart building and sustainable cities?
Yes, I believe, market, the customer behavior market now is changing. In my opinion, smart city, it means all basic needs. It's easy accessible. It means whatever the basic need, our definition of basic needs now change. It means that there is easy accessible school is, and also as Safa said that all the things, let's say that emergencies are transport. So like we have metro, so we can also use the buses, driverless buses. So like it's smart cities, and our collections of wastage, this is smart city. So these type of things, it means a city where we easily accessible, and this all is depends on the artificial intelligence. Everything's on artificial intelligence. This is, from my opinion, this called smart city. And we have to see that now world is going on like virtual. Like today we have virtual meetings. So everyone is going online, even shopping online. There in smart city, supposed to be the carport or vegetables, you just order and it will deliver at your door. This called, I believe, smart cities. Now online business, online shopping is going on, and also this I think the trend is increasing because of COVID, because every obstacles bring the opportunities. Now opportunities for online shoppings. The e-commerce is now this is the era of e-commerce. So online business is ongoing. So you can buy everything online. Just get with one click, you can get all things. No need to go outside or something. Yeah.
Absolutely right. Online, as we say, blessings in disguise. Now, this COVID has exposed us to all this online experience. Like before, having a meeting or conference call, or like having a team or Zoom meeting, it was not that much popular like before COVID. Now, because of COVID, we found it more comfortable and convenient to have it in everybody sitting in his place and do this meeting. Like Kenny, he's from UK and he's with us. Like if he's sitting in the same room. So this invention has really brought a good opportunity. Absolutely right. Now, let me go a little bit speaking about smarter city and smarter industry and the new development in general. Would like a little bit to go through the history to predict what we are gonna see like 20 years down the road. So just to refresh ourselves before the Industrial Revolution, like you have a water pump, it was a manual. So the farmer, for instance, he used his muscle or he used animal power to pump the water from the wells. And the car, there was a cart and there was a horses. So you have a couple of horses, 4 horses, for instance, and the cart. And the farmer was using this cart to do his daily commute. Now, when the Industrial Revolution came and the fossil fuel power introduced or steam power introduced, the manual pump became a mechanical pump, and then after the electricity introduced, it's become electrical pump. So this addition of this artificial power has really make the productivity of the pump better and better, maybe 100 and 1,000 times. Now, the same thing for the car. The car, it became from the 4 horses with the cart, it became an engine, and with the flip of a switch, you can command maybe 400 horses. And you can go on the highway. I don't expect the horses going on the highway. I'm in the engine power. So these things and really make things easier. Now with the artificial intelligence, which we are getting a lot of revolutionary changes on it. Now the same equation, if we add it up, so you have the electrical water pump. You add some artificial intelligence, you will get a smart pump. And the same thing for the car. You have this car with 400 or 500 horsepower. You add up the artificial intelligence and you get a smart car or auto-driven car. So really things are going towards a general direction, going towards making things smarter and smarter. And this will bring a new challenges and a new opportunity, this new innovation. And I think this will be the spark of the new technological revolution, which hope we can all pick it up and we can get advantage of it. Now, this will take me to my next point. So what are the main challenges when we are working with big data? What are the common mistakes and that business should try to avoid, and how we can overcome these challenges? I will start with you, Anil.
Yeah, thanks, Bashar. I think the challenge with big data is that big data doesn't reside in a silo, right? I mean, you're always taking big data. I think Safa referred to weather, for example, and you're trying to correlate that to energy efficiency, for example. You're taking traffic data and then using that for planning. So big data really doesn't sit in a silo. You need to connect that to your organization, your objectives, your your parameters, right? Now, big data is available today, but it's not structured. So it's typically unstructured. So you should have an ability to gather that, classify the data, make it structured, and connect it to the relevant parameter at your end. So you need to start with the end in mind. You need to think about what is the use case that I'm trying to address, what is the problem I'm trying to address, what is the big data that is relevant for my business, and how do I connect it to my data to make it valuable for my organization as well as for, let's say, the industry or the community that we are building in a sense. So I think the unstructured nature of data needs to be addressed by classification, by understanding what's relevant, by understanding the use cases. So I think that is step number one. The other element is more internal. Inside your organization, your data should, one is big data and one is your own data inside your organization, your project data, your enterprise data. So if your data itself is not kept in an organized manner, if it's not in a connected manner, if it's not a single source of truth for your business, then even if you get big data, you really can't use it because you can't connect it to valuable data or useful data at your end. So I would say step one is ensure that your house is in order, your data is structured internally, your project data is digital, it's connected, it's a single source of truth, it's real time. And then when you get big data, you can structure that and connect that to your project parameters to really drive value. So that's what we see. Your second question, Bashar, if you could repeat what the second portion of your question was.
How to overcome these challenges.
Yeah, I think I sort of answered that. So I would again go back to saying that having an integrated data platform approach and a data strategy is critical first, and then that would evolve into bringing in big data to really derive value out of that.
Excellent, excellent. Kenny, do you have any thought about the challenges and how to overcome these challenges? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I'm probably on the same page really with what's just been said. I think it's obviously inside your organization, as we said before, I think there is a hugely non-integrated situation today with lots of documents and not very good quality data, I would say, and it's not consistent, and I think that's the problem we see. We need consistent processes. We need to kind of get away from thinking about projects as being unique businesses, and I think that's maybe where the problem starts, because construction companies are collections of projects. The projects are the businesses inside a business, really, and therefore there's a tendency for everyone to think that we can run every project completely differently with different data and different processes, and as long as we continue on that path, we're never really going to be able to analyze data except within one project, because we'll never be able to compare one project with another because we do things differently every time. So I think we go back to, we need consistent processes, we need consistent data that comes out of that, and we need to have far fewer business systems, I think, in the landscape, and integrate the ones we do have so that we've got a consistent business process, and then we can start to analyze things properly. Because I never hear anyone in a construction company, contractor, ever mentioning big data to me. It's kind of because they haven't really got control of the data yet to really worry about that problem. So I think that's the first step along the journey, is to get control of the processes and get good quality data inside the organization.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Mohammed, do you want to add anything on challenges?
Yes, yes. In construction, you know that what is the purpose why we are collecting the data. The problem is in construction, whenever we get new project, we start from 0 point. We are not checking whatever happened from previous project. So I believe there must be like a structure where there is checklist that did you check the previous project data? We made some mistakes or lesson learned. Did you apply in that one or not? It means it in project and organization, it should be mandatory that you review the previous project's data and don't make again these mistakes. This is one point. Other things that reliability, that these data is reliable, where we, how we collect and how we can rely. It means that we have to make the audit that this data is reliable. First, once we rely on this data, then it must be necessary we review this data before starting next project, and all lesson learned we have to apply and check. It must be checklist that I want. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent point. Safa, any point you want to add?
I think
data challenges.
I think it's my colleagues said everything about this. No more. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. See, absolutely right. I fully agreed. It's practically impossible to make a sense of raw data, and not sharing is a big challenge. I think there is a growing need for what you call it data integration system in the organization to ensure that this information accurately and efficiently processed from between the teams, and to eliminate manual processes, because this what as Kenny said, to achieve a good data, to avoid manual and human intervention that reduce the risk of error and misinterpretation. I would like to wrap up with my last question. So because we have only around 4 minutes. So what is the one piece of practical advice you would give to someone who is managing data correctly? What's the advice to manage the data correctly? I will start with Kenny.
Okay, I think we've probably said it before, but I think we need to simplify our business system landscape. I think we've got too many systems and too many silos. So we need less systems. We need to think more integrated. So if we have less systems, we can then have a better chance of integrating. You know, for example, let's integrate the BIM landscape with ERP, for example, something that very few companies have really understood how to do that properly. And the last thing I would say is really just we need to think about starting from the whole conversation from business value, because the industry needs to improve its business performance. Margins are not as good as they should be, productivity is not as good as it should be, and so on. So we need to start the conversation with what are the business value drivers, what are the KPIs we need to measure, and then drive the data and information and the processes based on, you know, that starting point. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. Safa, do you want to say something before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to add this. There's no perfect way to manage data. Which is more important, what's more important to manage the data than the technical issue is the frame of mind in which you approached it. In other words, I think on your way that is fitting to the case you have. Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you.
Well said. Mohammed, do you want to say something?
Yeah,
before we wrap up? Yeah.
Yes. I believe we in every company must have some system. They must follow the system before starting any project, the proper training for their team, that we use this software and all our data will be on server, and it depends on each other. If you need the first step, you need this verification from this. So I mean that like Econex, you know, that you put all data there and you can see that one. Suppose, let's say in our construction, let's say our QS, they want to verify the payment. So first QS cannot proceed his payment certification before getting report from planner. So certain these type of things you can also make in software, and then it will be like, you know, proper procedure. Yes, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Anil, do you want to say the final word?
Sure. Thanks, Bashar. So yeah, I agree with the co-panelists and what Kenny said. I think an enterprise platform approach is critical to ensure that you get data in the right way for your operations, and so that it's reusable and data really becomes an asset for your organization. And that's a fundamental shift that the construction industry needs to make. The other side, which is less spoken about, which I would want to highlight in a couple of sentences, is that culture is very important. So culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So having a mindset that is digital, having a mindset that's agile, you need to have a mindset towards data very similar to cash. So today in construction industry, cash is not the CFO's problem. Cash is everybody's problem, right? It's the project manager's problem. It's the the site supervisor's problem. So everyone is trying to increase profitability and cash. So the same approach needs to apply to data as well. So people need to understand in the construction business that data is critical. The quality of what they input into the system is very important. What they're asking out of the system is very important. And a data mindset is really, really important. And that needs to, maybe you don't need to hire data scientists at this point, but building that awareness, building that acknowledgement of why data is required and what does it really drive for your business has to not only reside with the owners, it has to be down to the managers and the supervisors, and everyone needs to be thinking in that direction. That's one point that I would like to make.
Okay, excellent. All you guys have hit an excellent point. It was a great insights. Creativity and innovation will drive the business, and the business leaders need to be on the top of it. I need to create the right environment to flourish the business and share the experience, as we discussed, avoid being in silos, so that everybody can get advantage of this information which we have. Thank you so much. It was great, guys, to meet you in this panel discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bashar. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Bashar, and to all of our panelists. That was a really insightful session, and I think you've actually left the audience with much to think about. And to our audience, please make sure to start the next session starting shortly, titled Identifying the Potential for Part Automated Compliance Inspection Using Data Technologies for Better Project Management. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.